the resistance. Young people will begin to resist not only the use of the word nigger, we begin to resist the word negro. We begin to resist the segregation.
Soon, lunch counters in 65 cities were filled with black students calmly insisting on service. They were served up words of hate.
I said, I'm sorry, our management does not allow us to serve niggers in here.
Nigger was stigmatizing for the target of the term. It also, pretty early on, was sometimes viewed as stigmatizing for the speaker, because nigger was viewed as a sort of term that poor people, less well-educated people used.
They don't want no nigger.
No nigger.
No nigger.
Strom Thurmond, white supremacist, demagogue, never said nigger. There were other white supremacist segregationists who would not have thought of saying nigger, would have been just, how D-class say. They didn't use nigger. That was what poor white trash used. They didn't use it.
Later on, in the 60s, there would be a gradual change in the way the word was used. And it would also be a way that the so-called better class of whites would try to distance themselves from what they perceive to be the lower class of whites. Better class of whites don't say the word nigger, so they would begin to say negro.
Niggers. And of course, blacks strongly objected to that because they thought it was very close to nigger, the N-word. But the whites, Southern whites, oh no, that's not the same thing.
Damn nigger.
But the word nigger itself persisted throughout the 60s, and there were a lot of white Southern politicians sort of galvanized around the segregationist platform. Who gets elected is often determined by who is perceived as the most racist.
Lyndon Johnson is the biggest nigger lover in the United States.
Amen.
He may think that he can use his Justice Department with Bobby Kennedy at the head of it, and he may think that he can use J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI and the Army to force us white people here in St. Augustine and other parts of the nation to mix up with niggers. But if he sends troops in here and puts a bayonet behind every one of us, we still will not mix up with a bunch of black savages.
Whoever yelled it the loudest, whoever yelled it the most frequently, 9 times out of 10 would be the one who would prevail in the election contest.
If they say, well, you can't have a poll tax, they can say you can't have a gas tax or a cigarette tax or anything else. Federal government's telling the states pretty tough what their business is. Now, you can say that they can't discriminate, but I've got to prove that it discriminates, and I can't prove it in Texas. There are more niggers voting there now than white folks. There are more of them buying poll taxes now than white folks. Higher percentage of them. And I can't show that the literacy test that discriminate against because they haven't got any. They got no test at all. Just by God, anybody that can get up and pay $1.06 can vote.
Congress passes the most sweeping civil rights bill ever to be written into the law, and thus reaffirms the conception of equality for all men that began with Lincoln and the Civil War 100 years ago. The Negro won his freedom then. He wins his dignity now.
Christ is a nigger, beaten and black. Oh, bare your back. Mary is his mother, Mammy of the South. Silence your mouth. God is his father. White master above, grant him your love. Most holy bastard of the bleating mouth, nigger Christ on the cross of the South. Christ in Alabama, Langston Hughes.
During the civil rights movement, we were trying to regain our dignity, and we switched from the word Negro, which ultimately we considered like derogatory too.
The underlying current of it, when I was coming up, it was a derogatory thing. It was a thing that you didn't want to deal with. That's why we went to black.
Young, gifted, and black. Pretty black.
I'm not prejudiced because some of my best friends are colored, if you know what I'm talking about.
You ever know them dudes that get mad at the motherfucker, right? You be talking about, say, black boy.
Say, man, what you mean, black? Baby, I'm colored. I don't play that shit.
It's interesting. how black people in this society have always tried to constantly redefining themselves or re-identifying themselves.
Let's get into the inner workings and the meaning of a black revolution and why black people have a right to take what's theirs. We're going to walk on this racist power structure, and we're going to say to the whole damn government, stick 'em up, motherfucker.
In the Black Panther Party, we would not allow our children to use this word at all, any more than curse, believe it or not. Because we did know that language mattered. I mean, it's like talking about someone being dark or light and giving a value to that. Language is just a reflection of what people think and what the realities are. How do we define who black people are in America? Ultimately, of course, the party talked about revolutionary change in America, that in order for black people to be free, America had to change.
So many white folks in America keep wondering about what's wrong with them. Niggas must be crazy. No, baby, understand one thing. Niggas got more sense today than ever before in the history of America. And when niggas was basically crazy, that's when he thought we had good sense.
Why you gonna tell a black person that they can't have the freedom of speech? Huh? We ain't never told them they don't have the right to say MF. Or goddamn. You know? And I'm just thrilled to say that America, including black folks, is hung up with the word nigga. I love it.
A dispatch from Memphis mentions that of 2 Negroes lately sentenced to death for murder in that vicinity, one named Woods has just confessed to having ravished a young lady, for which deed another Negro was hung by an avenging mob. The evidence that doomed the guiltless wretch being a hat which Woods stole from its owner and left behind for the purpose of misleading. Ah, well, too bad to be sure. A little blunder in the administration of justice by Southern mob law, but nothing to speak of. Only a nigger killed by mistake. That is all. From a short satirical essay by Mark Twain, 1877.
There's 3 comedic geniuses in the history of this country. One is Mark Twain, and the other 2 shouldn't even be mentioned in the same year you mentioned Mark Twain. Is Minnie Bruce and Richard Pryor.
When we heard Richard Pryor get on stage and perform and use the word nigger, it was a sense of empowerment. Here's this brilliant black comic who's taken this word to a new level.
No one could use the word more beautifully than Richard Pryor.
Don't worry, niggas, I'm with you. Go ahead.
You know, he is poet, he is genius, he is storyteller, he is language, he is everything.
Now that